Hello, Year 8. Today you will be studying artificial selection. So, artificial selection is in your book on page 37. It is under section 10.3, natural and artificial selection. We have already covered natural selection in last week's work. So artificial selection is actually something that is very important to us in the UAE, especially when it comes to camels. So in today's lesson, there will be an opportunity for you to find out exactly how important artificial selection is to the economy of the UAE, particularly when it comes to the production of camel milk. I've already got some resources lined up for you that I hope you enjoy. So we're going to read through this section together. So you should have your book open to page 37. And then after that, we'll have a look at one or two of the questions at the bottom of the page just to test your understanding. Humans can interfere with nature by selecting animals or plants with characteristics that are useful to them and then breeding from them. This is called selective breeding by artificial selection. Selective breeding increases the chances of certain variations of genes passing from parent to offspring. People have been using selective breeding since the start of farming about 10,000 years ago. Farmers selected plants that grew well, gave the highest yield, and tasted nice. Farmers also selected animals that gave lots of milk or meat and were easy to manage. Some animals were selected to do work, like pulling a plough or carrying people. So, in the UAE, think about what animal we use to carry people that may have been used in the past. Think about the characteristics of that animal. What type of animal would you think people would prefer to ride on? What type of camels do you think would be suitable? Maybe they could be good-natured. Maybe they could even look appealing. Maybe they would not be aggressive. Maybe they'd be strong. So, here's some questions at the bottom. What I'd like you to do is I'd like you to pause the video when I finish a question. Have a think about it. Discuss your answer with a parent at home and then play the video again. So we're going to look at question number 4. Give 2 examples of a characteristic that has been created by selective breeding in plants and 2 examples in animals. Let me pause the video. So selective breeding in plants could produce crops with a higher yield. Perhaps they could be crops that have greater resistance to insects or disease. Perhaps it could be a crop that, if you apply an insecticide to, would not be killed. Perhaps it could be something a bit more based on the way that the plant appears. So it could be a type of flower. Maybe you could have different petals, maybe lots of petals. Maybe you could have different perfumes. So there's lots of examples. Perhaps if you're thinking about a fruit plant, you could be talking about the appearance of the fruit. That would be an acceptable answer. Perhaps you could be talking about the taste. Perhaps you could be talking about how long the fruit lasts. Could even come down to selecting plants that don't have any seeds in or have less seeds. So what about animals? Well, If it's for a farming purpose, could talk about the amount of milk that they produce in a day. Could talk about the amount of meat that they have, particularly if that animal is going to be used for consumption, for food. Could talk about resistance to disease. You could talk about the fertility of the animal as well. So question number 5. Get ready to pause the video after I've asked the question. What is the difference between artificial selection and natural selection? Okay, pause the video now. So the key differences between artificial selection and natural selection is that natural selection is something that pretty much happens in the world around us without any type of interference, any kind of input from humans. Whereas artificial selection is something that humans would choose to do to increase, for example, the chance of certain variations of genes being passed from parent to offspring. So say, for example, if you have a camel, and it's a she-camel, and you want to, as a farmer, you want to breed camels that have very high amounts of milk. So what you would do is you would have offspring from that she-camel and select the female camels that have the highest amount of milk, cause them to have offspring, and keep going until you end up with a characteristic that has been naturally passed on from all of the parents to their offspring. So the key difference between artificial selection and natural selection is that humans interfere with nature during artificial selection by selecting animals or plants with characteristics that are useful to them and then breeding from them. Thank you very much for watching the video. Remember that natural selection is something that happens in the natural world without any human interference. There are some theories that are necessary for us to cover. The theories that lead on to a topic called evolution by natural selection. It's important to know what the theories say and what some of the findings of the theories and the implications of the theories could be used to explain. Stay safe, stay at home, and thanks for watching the video.